Saitama opened his eyes to a ceiling that pulsed with organic purple light. Veins of bioluminescence threading through architecture that looked grown rather than built. The air tasted metallic, wet. Something between a slaughterhouse and a hospital. He sat up from the strange platform he'd landed on. Some kind of landing pad suspended over a massive chasm filled with twisting structures that defied geometry. "Huh," he said. A shriek echoed from somewhere below. Then another. Then hundreds. Saitama stood, cape settling around his shoulders, and walked to the edge of the platform. The city, if that's what this was, stretched in all directions like a vertical maze of impossible angles. Massive spires twisted upward and downward simultaneously, and everywhere things were moving. Humanoid shapes lurched through corridors, some walked upright, others crawled on ceilings. Many were covered in pustulant growths that seemed to writhe independently of their hosts. A creature that might have once been reptilian stumbled into view 3 levels below. Its body grotesquely distorted by tumorous masses, mandibles clicking in rhythms that suggested speech corrupted into madness. "Weird monster designs," Saitama muttered. "Pretty gross, though." The creature's head snapped toward him. All of them did. Silence fell across the district like a held breath. Hundreds of malformed heads turned in perfect unison, focusing on the bald man in the yellow suit. Then as one they screamed, not with voices, but with a sound that bypassed ears and struck directly at the brainstem, pure infection hunger given acoustic form. They came. The flood surged upward like a chittering tide, climbing walls, leaping impossible distances, merging and splitting as combat forms. Threw themselves toward this new biomass. Carrier forms waddled forward, swollen sacks pulsing with anticipation. Saitama sighed. The first wave reached his platform, a combat form that had once been a Sangheli, warrior. Its elite armor fused into corrupted flesh, extra limbs sprouting from its torso. It lunged with both original arms and 3 parasitic appendages, moving with speed that would have blurred to human eyes. Saitama's fist moved casually. The combat form didn't explode. It vaporized. The shockwave from the punch didn't just destroy the flood form. It carved a perfectly circular tunnel through 17 levels of High Charity's architecture. The air pressure alone liquefying every flood organism in a 50-meter radius. The structure groaned, and somewhere distant a support column collapsed. "Oops," Saitama said. "Probably should pull my punches in here." More came. He started flicking them instead. Each flick of his finger sent flood forms ragdolling backward at supersonic speeds, splattering against walls or punching through them entirely. A carrier form burst before reaching him, releasing infection forms that swarmed forward in a green-brown cloud. Saitama waved his hand, dismissively. The air displacement alone pulverized them into paste, but they didn't stop coming. And that was new. Saitama had fought monsters that ran, fought villains who begged, fought aliens who retreated when they realized they couldn't win. These things just kept attacking, wave after wave, driven by hunger that transcended self-preservation. He could kill thousands, he was killing thousands. But they treated his overwhelming power not as a deterrent, but as a challenge. "You guys are pretty determined," he admitted, crushing a combat form's head between 2 fingers. "Still gross, though." A massive shape emerged from the chasm below, a flood juggernaut, a tank form created from multiple biomasses merged together, standing 4 meters tall with arms like battering rams. It roared and charged. Saitama met it with a proper punch, still restrained maybe 1%, and the juggernaut's torso simply ceased to exist. The shockwave created a spherical cavity in the air itself, momentary vacuum that sucked in debris before releasing it in an omnidirectional blast. Something flickered in his peripheral vision. Saitama turned. A human, an actual human, not a monster, stood on a platform 2 levels up, armor covered in burns and flood biomass, holding some kind of rifle. The man's helmet was cracked, revealing a face locked in an expression between terror and awe. "You!" the Marine shouted, voice breaking. "What the hell are you?" Before Saitama could answer, a combat form burst from a wall behind the Marine. Saitama moved. He crossed 60 meters in a fraction of a second, casual step becoming instantaneous displacement, and caught the combat form by its grotesque head. The Marine stumbled backward, weapon rising on instinct. "Easy," Saitama said, and crushed the flood form into paste with one hand. "I'm a hero." The Marine stared at the yellow-suited bald man who just moved faster than his helmet's motion tracker could register. "A hero?" the Marine repeated. "Yeah. Do you know where the grocery store is? I was kind of in the middle of shopping." Staff Sergeant Marcus Chen had seen 3 days of hell inside High Charity. He'd watched his squad get torn apart by the flood. Watched Sergeant Reynolds get infected. Watched the parasite burst from his chest and latch onto Private Morrison. Watched the Covenant City ship descend into screaming chaos as the parasite consumed everything. He had not expected to watch a bald man in a yellow jumpsuit and red cape casually obliterate flood combat forms with finger flicks while asking about groceries. "Grocery store," Chen repeated, his MA-5B rifle still aimed at this, whatever he was. "Brother, we're in the middle of a Covenant holy city that's been overrun by the flood. There's no..." A carrier form waddled around the corner, sacks bloated with infection forms. The bald man, Saitama, he'd said his name was, looked at it with the expression of someone finding expired milk in their fridge. He exhaled sharply through his nose. The air pressure from that single breath hit the carrier form, like a Mac round, bursting it instantly and splattering its contents across the corridor. "Flood?" Saitama asked. "Is that what these are called?" Chen slowly lowered his rifle. You don't know what the flood is? Never heard of them. Never heard of Covenant either. Or... Saitama gestured vaguely at the purple-lit alien architecture. "Whatever this place is, 1 minute I'm walking home. Next minute I'm here fighting mushroom zombies." Chen's mind raced through possibilities. Covenant bioweapon? Forerunner war machine? Some Oni Black Ops experiment gone wrong? Nothing in his training covered impossibly powerful bald men who treated flood outbreaks like minor inconveniences. "Listen," Chen said carefully. "I've got 6 survivors holed up in a maintenance bay 2 sections over. We were part of Commander Keyes' ground team before..." He gestured at the horror surrounding them. "Can you help us reach the hangar? We've got a Pelican, but the roots crawled with..." Saitama was already walking. "Sure, lead the way." The journey through High Charity's intestinal corridors should have taken an hour of careful movement, watching motion trackers, conserving ammunition, praying the flood didn't overwhelm them. With Saitama, it took 6 minutes. The hero moved through the flood like a man brushing aside curtains. Combat forms lunged, he stepped past them, and they exploded from the air displacement. Infection forms swarmed. He walked through the cloud and they burst like popped balloons against his skin. A pure form, a ranged type that Chen had never seen before, fired bone spikes from a distance. Saitama caught one between 2 fingers, examined it with mild interest, then flicked it back. The spike traveled so fast it ignited the air around it, punching through the pure form and 17 walls behind it before exiting High Charity's hull entirely. Atmosphere began screaming through the breach. "Ah, crap," Saitama said and jumped to the hole. He pressed his palm against it. How do I fix this?" Chen stared as the bald hero literally plugged a hull breach with his hand, holding back vacuum through pure physical presence. The structural metal around the hole bent inward from the pressure differential, but Saitama's arm didn't move a millimeter. Just hold it for a second. Chen fumbled with his tactical pack, pulling out an emergency hull sealant canister, standard equipment for shipboarding actions. He sprayed the industrial foam around Saitama's hand. The chemical hardened in seconds, creating an airtight seal. Saitama pulled his hand free. The foam held. Atmosphere stabilized. "Nice," Saitama said. "You guys have good emergency supplies." Chen wasn't religious. 3 years fighting the Covenant had beaten most faith out of him, but he was reconsidering his stance on divine intervention. They reached the maintenance bay. Chen knocked the pattern. 3 short, 2 long. The blast door cracked open and Corporal Davis's shotgun barrel emerged first. "Sarge," Davis's eyes widened. "You're alive. Who's the—" "Long story," Chen cut him off. "Everyone ready to move?" Inside the bay, 5 Marines in battered armor looked up. Private Kowalski had a field dressing around her abdomen, plasma burns still weeping. Lieutenant Hayes was pale from blood loss, arm in a makeshift sling. The others looked shell-shocked, 1,000-yard stares from too many hours in hell. And they all stopped breathing when Saitama walked in. "Everyone, this is Saitama," Chen said, realizing how insane this sounded. "He's going to get us to the Pelican." "He's not UNSC," Hayes said, trying to stand, wincing. "No armor, no insignia, no—" A flood tank form smashed through the wall. The creature was massive, a fusion of multiple Covenant bodies merged into a single battering ram of infected flesh and bone. It roared with a dozen mouths, tentacles writhing, prepared to sweep the entire bay clean of human life. Saitama backhanded it. The casual swat sent the tank form rocketing backward through the wall it had entered from, through the corridor beyond, through another wall, and out into High Charity's central chasm. The Marines heard it screaming all the way down until the sound cut off with a distant, wet crunch. Silence. "Questions later," Chen said. "Move out." The march to the hangar became a procession. Saitama walked point, and the flood learned, if such a word applied to the parasite, to avoid the bald man in yellow. Combat forms that got close were destroyed. Those that stayed distant were ignored. The hero seemed more interested in the architecture. "This place is really weird," Saitama observed, looking at a corridor that curved upward into impossible angles. "Like an M.C. Escher painting, but purple." "MC who?" Davis asked. "Artist from my world. Did stairs and stuff that didn't make sense." Hayes limped alongside Chen, whispering, "Sarge, what the hell is he?" "Above our pay grade, Lieutenant Wei. Above." They encountered Covenant in the hangar approach, not flood-infected, but living warriors fighting a desperate rearguard against the parasite. 3 Sangheili in golden armor, energy swords blazing, held a choke point while Ungoy and Kigyar evacuated toward a spirit dropship. The elites saw the humans, saw Saitama. The leader, a zealot with a voice like grinding stone, roared, "Demons! The parasite brings new servants!" "Wait!" Chen shouted. "We're not!" The zealot charged, energy sword raised, mandibles spread in a war cry. The blade could cut through Spartan armor like tissue paper, powered by superheated plasma constrained in magnetic fields. Saitama caught it with 2 fingers. The energy sword's blade touched his skin and simply stopped. No burn, no cut, no effect whatsoever. The zealot's eyes widened behind his helmet, all 4 mandibles dropping in shock. He pushed harder. The blade didn't move. Saitama looked at the glowing weapon with curiosity. "This thing's pretty hot," he said. "Neat design." He released it and stepped back, hands raised in a peaceful gesture. "We're not here to fight you, just trying to get to our ship." The zealot stared at his energy sword, then at Saitama, then back at his sword. His fellow warriors flanked him, weapons raised but uncertainty clear in their posture. "What are you?" the zealot demanded in accented English. "I'm Saitama. I'm a hero. No creature can touch holy fire without burning. I mean, I can. Just did." Saitama scratched his bald head. "Look, the mushroom zombies are the real problem here. Maybe we just go our separate ways." The flood decided the matter. A wave of combat forms poured into the hangar from 3 entry points simultaneously, screaming their infection hunger. The Covenant and UNSC forces had a choice: fight each other or survive. The zealot's mandibles clicked in what might have been dark humor. "The parasite makes allies of all." He turned to his warriors. "Focus. Fire on the abominations." Chen's Marines and the Covenant fighters formed an impromptu defensive line, plasma and bullets carved into flood ranks. And at the center, Saitama walked forward, each step creating shockwaves that pulverized infection forms, each lazy punch vaporizing combat forms. A pure form, a massive tank variant, burst from the deck plating. Saitama grabbed it by one tentacle and swung it like a flail, using the flood creature to batter aside its own kind. When the tentacle finally tore free, he tossed the broken tank form into a charging group of combat forms, the impact creating a crater in the hangar floor. The Pelican sat at the far end, battered but functional. Chen's team sprinted for it while Saitama provided cover that redefined the word overwhelming. "Move, move!" Hayes shouted, climbing into the troop bay. Chen turned back. "Saitama, come on!" The hero was standing in the center of a circle of destroyed flood forms, looking up at High Charity's cathedral-like ceiling with a thoughtful expression. "This is a spaceship, right?" he called back. "City ship, mobile space station, whatever, get in." Saitama jumped. He cleared 200 meters vertically in a single leap, touched the ceiling, and pushed off. The structural supports buckled from the force. He landed next to the Pelican with an impact that cratered the deck plating but didn't even scuff his boots. "Cool," he said and climbed aboard. Davis stared. Kowalski made a sound between a laugh and a sob. The Covenant zealot, still fighting at the hangar entrance, watched the Pelican's engines fire with an expression of profound religious confusion. Chen slapped the pilot's shoulder. "Get us out of here!" The Pelican lifted, rotated, and punched out of High Charity through a damaged hangar bay, escaping into the chaos of the space battle raging over Delta Halo. The UNSC and Amberclad hung in geosynchronous orbit over Delta Halo like a wounded animal. Hull scarred from plasma impacts, point defense guns tracking Covenant fighters that swooped through the debris field. Inside the frigate's medical bay, Saitama sat on an examination table that groaned under his weight, not because he was heavy, but because the metal seemed to instinctively understand it was in the presence of something that could crush it without effort. Commander Miranda Keyes stood with her arms crossed, flanked by 2 ODSTs whose battle rifles were pointed carefully at the floor but ready to snap up at a moment's notice. Sergeant Chen had delivered his after-action report twice, and she still didn't believe it. "Let me understand this correctly," Miranda said, voice controlled but strained. "You're from another universe. You have no connection to the UNSC, the Covenant, or the Forerunners. You appeared in High Charity through unknown means, and you claim to be a hero for fun." Saitama nodded. "Yeah, that's pretty much it. Though lately I've been getting paid, so I guess it's more like a job now." "And your capabilities include?" "I'm strong," Saitama said with the tone of someone describing their height or hair color. "Like really strong." One of the ODSTs, Staff Sergeant Banks, call sign Brick, snorted. "Sir, we've seen Spartans, we've seen hunters. This guy's something else entirely. He caught an energy sword with his bare hands." Miranda turned to her tactical station where a holographic AI shimmered. Not Cortana, but one of Amber-Clad's lesser support AIs, a blue-tinted construct named Ashok. "Analysis?" Ashok's avatar flickered, processing. "Commander, our medical scanners cannot penetrate his cellular structure. His skin appears to be ordinary human tissue, but it's rejecting every form of invasive scanning. X-rays bounce off. Ultrasound shows nothing. It's as if his body exists in a state of quantum uncertainty." "That's not possible," Miranda said. "Neither is surviving flood infection through pure cellular resilience, yet Sergeant Chen's helmet cam shows infection forms bursting upon contact with his skin. Neither is generating shock waves through casual movement, yet structural analysis of High Charity's hangar shows impact craters consistent with small-yield explosives created by footsteps." Saitama looked bored. "Can I get some food? I haven't eaten since breakfast and I was planning to make salmon for dinner." Miranda blinked. The galaxy was ending, the Covenant approaching the Ark, the flood spreading unchecked, the halo array threatening all sentient life. And this man wanted salmon. "We'll get you to the mess hall," she said slowly. "But first, we need to understand what you are. Oni will want to—" "Oni," Saitama interrupted. "Office of Naval Intelligence. They handle—" "I'm not interested in intelligence services, I just want to go home." He stood, the examination table sighing in relief. "Look, I help people, that's what I do. If you've got monsters or bad guys, point me at them and I'll take care of it. But I'm not joining anyone's military or becoming some kind of weapon. I've had enough of that back home." The ODSTs tensed. Miranda's hand drifted toward her sidearm. Not that she believed a M6 pistol would do anything against someone who tanked energy swords, but instinct overrode logic. "You're on a UNSC vessel," she said carefully. "We're in the middle of a war for humanity's survival. I can't just let you wander around freely without—" An alarm screamed across the ship. The lights shifted to red alert. Ashok's avatar expanded, displaying tactical data. "Commander, Covenant cruiser decloaking bearing 270. They've launched boarding craft." Miranda's mind shifted instantly from interrogation to combat. "Battle stations, deploy all Marines to repel boarders, get our longswords in the air and—" "Where's the enemy ship?" Saitama asked. Ashok highlighted it on the holographic display. A CCS-class battlecruiser over a kilometer long, bristling with plasma weapons and launching spirit dropships toward Amber-Clad. Saitama studied it for 3 seconds. "I'll be right back." He was gone before Miranda could respond. The ODSTs spun, rifles up, but Saitama had simply left, not through the door but through the bulkhead, leaving a perfectly man-shaped hole in the reinforced titanium A plating. Atmosphere screamed through the breach. Emergency bulkheads slammed down. Alarms multiplied. "What the—" Banks started. On the tactical display, Ashok tracked something moving through space, something small, something impossibly fast. "Commander," the AI said, voice uncertain for the first time. "I'm detecting an object traveling from our hull breach toward the Covenant cruiser. Velocity, Mach 15 and accelerating. Mass signature, approximately 90 kilograms. Profile consistent with—" "A human body," Miranda whispered. Saitama flew through space using the same technique he'd developed for jumping long distances on Earth. He'd pointed himself in a direction and pushed off really hard. Physics screamed in protest as he accelerated without propulsion, moving through vacuum like a missile with a cape. The Covenant cruiser grew larger. He could see its details now, the smooth curves of its hull, the glowing plasma conduits, the launch bays disgorging boarding craft. He adjusted his angle slightly, aiming for what looked like a good spot to land. He hit the cruiser's hull at Mach 20. The impact carved a trench 70 meters long through the ship's armor, Saitama's body acting as a kinetic penetrator that punched through shields, hull plating, corridors, and bulkheads before he stopped himself in what looked like an engineering section. Covenant warriors, Sanghili Kigyar Ungoy, stared at the bald human who just crashed through their ship like a meteor. "Hi," Saitama said, brushing purple, blood off his cape. "Sorry about your wall. Or walls, I guess. Anyway, you were attacking that human ship and I need them to help me get home, so could you maybe not do that?" A Sanghili Ultra roared and opened fire with a plasma rifle. The superheated bolt splashed against Saitama's face like warm water. He blinked, waiting for the warrior to stop shooting. "Done?" Saitama asked. The Ultra threw down his rifle and drew an energy sword, charging with a battle cry that had terrified humans across 100 worlds. Saitama flicked him on the forehead. The Ultra rocketed backward through 3 bulkheads, unconscious before his body stopped tumbling. The other Covenant warriors opened fire en masse. Plasma, needler rounds, fuel rod cannons, all converging on the bald man. The weapons fire carved through engineering equipment, destroyed consoles, melted deck plating. Saitama stood in the center of the firestorm, completely unharmed, looking annoyed. "Okay, so we're doing this the hard way," he said. He jumped upward, punching through deck after deck, creating a vertical shaft through the cruiser's guts. Gravity flickered, atmosphere vented. Covenant warriors tumbled through the artificial gravity wells, screaming. Saitama emerged in the bridge, a cathedral-like space where the shipmaster sat in a command throne, surrounded by holographic displays and subservient crew. The shipmaster, a grizzled Sanghili veteran named Voro Montakri, stared at the human who just demolished his ship from the inside. "Demon," he hissed, reaching for the Halo activation override, a last resort, a final act of faith. "I'm not a demon," Saitama said tiredly. "I'm just a guy who wants to go home. Stop attacking that ship and we're good. I would rather activate the sacred rings than surrender to—" Saitama appeared in front of him. No running, no stepping, just instant displacement, and grabbed the shipmaster's wrist before he could trigger the command. "No rings," Saitama said. "The nice AI lady said those rings kill everyone in the galaxy. That seems bad." Voro's eyes widened. You know of the Great Journey? I know you're about to blow everyone up, and I'm against that." Saitama's grip tightened slightly. The hardened combat armor around Voro's wrist crumpled like aluminum foil. "Call off your attack." The shipmaster's mandibles quivered, not from pain, but from the theological crisis unfolding in real time. A human demon who opposed the sacred journey, who spoke of the rings as weapons rather than salvation, who possessed strength beyond any Spartan. "You blaspheme," Voro whispered. "I'm just being practical," Saitama replied. An explosion rocked the ship. Saitama glanced up as structural supports began failing, the damage he'd caused cascading through critical systems. The cruiser was dying. Oh, he said. "I think I broke something important." The bridge crew was already evacuating, abandoning their posts as power failed and gravity went haywire. Voro Montakri remained in his command throne, mandibles set in grim acceptance. "You have doomed us all, demon. The prophets will—" Saitama grabbed the shipmaster and jumped, punching back through the hole he'd created, flying through space with Voro under one arm like a sack of potatoes. Behind them, the Covenant cruiser broke apart in silent explosions, secondary detonations rippling through its dying hull. He landed on an amber-clad's hull, gently this time, and walked across the frigate's surface toward an airlock. He knocked. The outer door cycled open. Marines poured out, weapons raised, only to find Saitama holding an elite shipmaster who looked like he was reconsidering every life choice that had led to this moment. "I brought a prisoner," Saitama said. "Also, I might have accidentally destroyed their whole ship. Is that bad?" The Prophet of Truth watched the holographic feed from High Charity with mandibles clenched tight enough to crack teeth. Around him, the Forerunner dreadnought's bridge hummed with sacred technology, the ancient vessel carrying him toward humanity's home world and the portal to the Ark. But his attention wasn't on Earth. It was on the bald anomaly that had just destroyed the pious Inquisitor with his bare hands. "Rewind," he commanded, his aged voice sharp. The hologram complied, showing again the impossible moment. A human, unarmored, unaugmented, unworthy, punching through a CCS-class battlecruiser's hull like tissue paper, emerging on the bridge and kidnapping shipmaster Voro Mantacree before the ship collapsed. "Analysis," Truth demanded. The dreadnought's ancillary systems, simplified Forerunner intelligence matrices, not true monitors but advanced enough, processed the data. When they responded, their synthesized voices carried uncertainty, an emotion Truth had never heard from them before. Physical parameters inconsistent with known biology, energy signature absent, technological augmentation undetected. Conclusion: insufficient data. Hypothesis: Forerunner experimental construct or dimensional intrusion. Dimensional intrusion. The words hung in the air like a curse. Truth's mind, honed by centuries of political maneuvering and religious manipulation, turned the problem over like a puzzle box. The humans had their demons, the Spartans, effective but understood warriors in armor that could be countered. This creature was something else, something that threatened the careful narrative Truth had constructed. The Covenant's faith rested on the Great Journey, on the Halo Array's promised transcendence. The prophets, himself included, knew the truth. The rings were weapons, genocide devices that would destroy all sentient life. But the lie sustained the Empire, kept the Sangheili loyal, gave purpose to billions. This bald demon challenged that narrative simply by existing. If the faithful saw a human possessing divine power greater than any Forerunner blessing bestowed upon the Covenant, Truth's eyes narrowed. Heresy could be opportunity. "Send word to all fleets," he commanded. "A demon walks among the humans, a false prophet bearing stolen divine power. The gods test our faith by sending this abomination. He who slays the bald demon shall stand at my side during the great journey." The bridge crew bowed, mandibles clicking in zealous acknowledgement. But Truth wasn't finished. He turned to his personal terminal, accessing the Covenant's most classified networks, the channel reserved for the 3 remaining prophets and their most trusted servants. The Prophet of Mercy's hologram shimmered to life, the elderly San Shayum's hover throne drifting in some distant sanctum. "Truth," Mercy wheezed, "I have seen the reports. This creature is a test from the gods," Truth interrupted smoothly. "Or so we shall proclaim." Mercy's expression soured. "You know better than to believe our own propaganda." "I know better than to let the faithful question." Truth leaned forward, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "This anomaly appeared during the flood outbreak on High Charity. Dimensional rupture, Forerunner artifact malfunction. Whatever the cause, it presents both threat and opportunity." "Explain." "The Sangheili grow restless. The Arbiter's heresy spreads doubt. Our brute enforcers are eager for promotion but lack the warrior's discipline. If we declare this bald demon the ultimate test of faith, a divine trial sent by the Forerunners themselves, we unite the Covenant against a common enemy." Mercy processed this, ancient eyes calculating. "And if this demon proves unstoppable, then we ensure he fights our enemies first, the humans. The Flood, the heretical separatists. Let him exhaust himself on lesser battles while we proceed to the Ark. Truth smiled, a predator's expression. And if he somehow survives to threaten us directly, we have contingencies. The sacred rings themselves, if necessary. Activating Halo to kill one human. To kill one impossibility. Truth's voice hardened. I will not let our great journey, our true plan for ascension, be disrupted by an anomaly that shouldn't exist. We harvest Forerunner technology. We achieve divine power through understanding, not worship. This creature represents a variable we cannot control, and I will not tolerate variables. The transmission ended. Truth turned back to the tactical displays, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen. Time to set the galaxy against Saitama. Aboard an amber-clad Miranda Keyes faced a different kind of crisis. The brig, reinforced to hold captured Covenant warriors, now contained Shipmaster Voro Montecri, the elite still processing the trauma of being carried through space like luggage. Let me understand this, Voro said in English, accent thick but comprehensible. You did not order this Saitama to destroy my ship? No, Miranda replied through the energy barrier separating them. We're trying to figure out what he is, same as you. Voro's mandibles clicked in what might have been dark amusement. He spoke of the sacred rings as weapons, not salvation, not the great journey. Weapons that kill all life. Miranda went very still. What did you just say? The bald human spoke truth that violates all Covenant doctrine. Either he is mad or... Voro's eyes met hers, intelligence and doubt warring behind them. Or the prophets have lied for millennia. This was intelligence gold. Miranda's mind raced. If a shipmaster was questioning the great journey, if seeds of doubt were spreading through Covenant ranks. Commander Keyes, Ashok's voice cut through. Priority transmission from FleetCom. Admiralty is demanding immediate secure conference. Miranda left Voro in the brig and headed to the bridge. The holographic conference table shimmered too, life displaying Fleet Admiral Harper, a grizzled veteran who'd lost 3 battle groups to the Covenant and looked like he'd aged a decade per loss. Commander Keyes, Harper said without preamble, your ship's AI has forwarded some concerning reports. A civilian aboard your vessel who single-handedly destroyed a Covenant cruiser? Sir, I wouldn't classify him as a civilian. I wouldn't classify him as anything we have precedent for. Oni wants him transferred to Midnight's Edge for study immediately. With respect, Admiral, I don't think Saitama will agree to that. He's not hostile, but he's also not following UNSC chain of command. He's his own actor. Harper's expression darkened. Then make him understand. We're losing this war, Commander. The Covenant is at Earth's doorstep. Master Chief and Arbiter are our only hope at stopping the Prophet of Truth. And now you're telling me we have a potential asset who could punch through Covenant capital ships like they're made of cardboard, and he's just asking for salmon. That's accurate, sir. This is unacceptable. We need every advantage. If this Saitama can do what your reports claim, he could turn the tide of the entire war. Miranda chose her next words carefully. Admiral, attempting to force him into service would be a mistake. He's powerful enough that if he decided we were enemies, we couldn't stop him. Our best option is cooperation, not conscription. Cooperation requires leverage, Commander. We have leverage. He wants to go home. We have scientists, AI, access to Forerunner technology. If anyone can find a way to reverse whatever brought him here, it's us. Harper was silent for several seconds. Very well. Keep him contained, keep him cooperative, and figure out how he works. If the Covenant gets their hands on him, or worse, if he decides humanity isn't worth helping, we're finished. The transmission ended. Miranda found Saitama in the mess hall working through his fourth tray of food while Marines gave him a wide berth. He looked up as she approached. "Hey," he said between bites. "This stuff isn't bad. Tastes kind of like MREs but less chemically." She sat across from him, exhausted. "We need to talk about what happens next." "I go home? We don't know how to send you home. We barely understand how you got here." Saitama's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, a flicker of resignation that Miranda recognized. The look of someone who'd heard bad news before and learned to accept it. "Figures," he said quietly. "This kind of thing happens sometimes." "What do you mean?" "Weird dimensional stuff. I fought a guy once who could open portals to other realities. Genos, my student, said something about quantum fluctuations and butterfly effects. I didn't really understand it." He set down his fork. "So I'm stuck here. For now. But we're willing to help you find a way back. In exchange." Miranda hesitated. "The human race is on the verge of extinction. The Covenant, the aliens who attacked us, they've been trying to wipe us out for decades. We're losing. But if you helped us, fight your war," Saitama finished, "fight for survival, for innocent people who just want to live." Saitama was quiet for a long moment, staring at his half-finished meal. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of someone who'd had this conversation with himself many times before. "I'm a hero because I want to be, not because anyone ordered me to be. Back home, there were governments that tried to control heroes, make us weapons, use us for politics." He looked up at Miranda. "I don't do that. I help people when they need help. I fight monsters when they show up, but I'm not joining an army. I'm not asking you to join, I'm asking you to do what you already do. Be a hero, just in our galaxy." Saitama considered this. "And you'll help me get home?" "We'll dedicate resources to it, I promise." He nodded slowly. "Okay, but I work alone. No commanders, no orders. You point me at the bad guys, I punch them. Everyone goes home safe. Deal?" Miranda extended her hand. Saitama shook it. His grip was gentle, but she could feel the coiled power in it, the sense that he was constantly holding back, constantly aware that one wrong move could shatter everything around him. "Deal," she said. Neither of them knew that truth's proclamation was already spreading across Covenant battlespace, or that every zealot, warrior, and fanatic in the Empire was now being told that killing the bald demon would guarantee their place in the great journey. The galaxy was about to declare war on Saitama, and Saitama just wanted to find a grocery store. The Covenant assault carrier Day of Jubilation translated from slipspace 6,000 kilometers from an amber-clad's position, its arrival ripping a purple-white wound in reality. 12 frigates materialized in its wake, accompanied by 36 boarding craft and a swarm of Seraph fighters that filled the tactical display like angry hornets. "Multiple contacts," Ashok announced, avatar flickering with combat algorithms. "Covenant fleet composition: 1 assault carrier, 12 support vessels, fighter screen approaching Spartan 2 threat level classification." Miranda's hands clenched on the command railing. "How did they find us so fast? We're running silent. Delta Halo's debris field should mask our signature." "Commander," Ashok interrupted, "they're broadcasting on all frequencies. Translating now." The bridge speakers crackled with the voice of a Sangheili zealot, words filtered through translation software that struggled with religious rhetoric. "Hear me, servants of the false gods. The bald demon who walks among you is an abomination, a test of faith sent by the divine. Surrender him to holy judgment or be cleansed alongside him in sacred fire. The prophet of truth himself has declared, whosoever slays the demon shall stand at the right hand of the hierarchs during the great journey. Miranda turned to face Saitama, who'd been standing near the tactical station eating an energy bar. "They're here for you." "Yeah, I got that." Saitama finished the bar, crumpled the wrapper, and looked for a trash receptacle. Finding none immediately, he tucked it in his belt. "So what's the plan? You guys fight them while I—" "No." Miranda's voice was firm. "We can't win this fight. One assault carrier has enough firepower to glass a planet. Our Mac gun might take down 1, maybe 2 frigates before they burn through our armor. We need to run." "Run where?" "Delta Halo's surface. Use the ring's defense network for cover while we call for reinforcements." Saitama frowned. "Or I could just go out there and wreck their ships like I did the last one." The bridge went silent. Every officer, every enlisted tech turned to stare at him. Miranda felt a headache building behind her eyes. "Saitama," she said carefully. "That's 12 warships. Each one is over a kilometer long, armed with plasma weapons that can melt through our hull in seconds. The assault carrier alone has a crew of thousands, carries hundreds of fighters, and could destroy this frigate with a single salvo." "Okay," Saitama said, waiting for the problem. "You can't seriously think you can fight an entire fleet by yourself." "Why not? I already wrecked one of their ships." "That was one ship. This is—" The assault carrier opened fire. Plasma torpedoes, each one a magnetic bottle containing superheated ionized gas at temperatures exceeding the surface of stars, streaked across the void. In amber-clads, point defense guns chattered, intercepting 3. The 4th got through. Impact. The frigate's shields, weak compared to Covenant technology, buckled and failed. Armor plating sublimated into vapor. The ship lurched. Atmosphere vented from sections 17 through 19. Damage alarms screamed. "Return fire!" Miranda shouted. "Helm! Evasive pattern Delta 7! Get us!" Saitama walked toward the hull breach. "What are you doing?" Miranda called after him. "Stopping them before they blow up your ship." He paused at the sealed bulkhead, examining it. "How do I get outside from here?" "The airlock is 3 sections over, but you can't just—" Saitama punched through the bulkhead. The reinforced titanium A plating, designed to withstand micrometeorite impacts and structural stress, crumpled like tin foil. He punched again, creating a tunnel. Emergency bulkheads slammed down behind him as he worked his way through the ship's layers. "He's insane," someone whispered. "He's going to get himself killed," another voice added. Miranda watched the tactical display. As a small contact, Saitama's body signature emerged from in amber-clad's hull and began moving toward the Covenant fleet. Moving fast. Mach 10, Mach 20, Mach 30. "Ashok," she said quietly. "Please tell me our sensors are malfunctioning." "Sensors are operating within normal parameters, Commander. I am detecting one human male accelerating through hard vacuum without propulsion, life support, or protective equipment. He appears to be jumping. Jumping. Correct. Each step generates a kinetic impulse sufficient to propel him forward at velocities approaching orbital insertion speeds." On the view screen, enhanced and magnified, Saitama became visible. A bald man in a yellow suit and red cape, moving through space like a bullet with terrible purpose. The Covenant fleet saw him coming. Seraph fighters broke formation, plasma cannons charging. Energy projectors on the frigate swiveled to track the lone human. The assault carrier's primary weapons, massive plasma, lances capable of cutting cruisers in half, began cycling up. They opened fire. Space lit up with crisscrossing energy beams, plasma bolts, and fuel rod detonations. The Covenant threw enough firepower to annihilate a city at a single target. Saitama flew through the maelstrom like a man walking through rain, unbothered and untouched. A plasma bolt hit him dead center. He didn't even blink. "Impossible," Ashok whispered, the AI's voice carrying genuine shock. "Direct hit from a Seraph plasma cannon. That should have vaporized him. He's not even slowing down." Saitama reached the first frigate, a CPV-class destroyer named Righteous Vigilance. He landed on its hull, boots touching down with an impact that rippled through the ship's superstructure. Inside, Covenant crew members felt the vibration, confused by the sensation of something walking on their vessel. Saitama looked at the ship beneath his feet, then at the assault carrier beyond, then at the other 11 warships surrounding him. He sighed. "All right," he said to no one in particular. "Let's make this quick." He jumped straight down, fist extended. Saitama punched through the destroyer from top to bottom like a meteor, the impact transferring kinetic energy that exceeded the ship's structural tolerances by several orders of magnitude. The frigate didn't just break apart, it imploded, collapsing inward before exploding outward, debris expanding in a spherical cloud that caught 2 nearby frigates in its spray. He emerged from the explosion cloud, already moving toward the next ship. The Covenant fleet, coordinated by veteran shipmasters and sophisticated battle networks, responded with desperate coordination. 3 frigates formed a firing line, overlapping their plasma fields to create a kill zone. Saitama flew through it. The superheated plasma washed over him like warm air. He grabbed a Seraph fighter that tried to strafe him, crumpled it like paper, and threw it at another frigate. The improvised projectile, moving at relativistic speeds, punched clean through the warship's reactor core. Secondary explosions tore the vessel apart. "Contact the fleet!" Shipmaster Thav Sebarim commanded from the assault carrier's bridge. "All vessels, full barrage, converge fire on..." Saitama appeared on the carrier's hull. Thav saw him through the viewport, a bald human standing upside down relative to the bridge's gravity orientation, cape fluttering in non-existent wind, looking directly at him through reinforced Covenant glass. Saitama waved, then he punched the ship, the impact point directly above the assault carrier's primary reactor core, cratered inward, the hull buckling as force propagated through structural supports. Thav had served for 40 years, had fought at Reach, had seen the demons in action. Nothing compared to this. "Emergency power to shields," he roared. "All weapons fire on..." Saitama punched again. The shield emitter shattered, the hull plating bent, internal decks collapsed. The carrier groaned like a dying leviathan. Inside the ship, thousands of Covenant warriors scrambled for escape pods, battle stations abandoned in favor of survival. Ungoi shrieked prayers to the Forerunners. Kigyar activated their point defense gauntlets uselessly. Sangheli warriors drew energy swords and charged toward the breach, honor demanding they face this demon even knowing they would die. Saitama broke through into the hangar bay where a scarab was being loaded for planetary assault. The massive quadrupedal walker, a Lekolo colony bound into a weapon platform, sensed the intruder and swiveled its main cannon. The plasma beam lanced out at point-blank range. Saitama caught it with his hand. The superheated plasma compressed against his palm, unable to penetrate his skin, building pressure until Saitama got annoyed and swatted the beam aside. The redirected energy carved through the hangar's far wall, venting atmosphere and launching unsecured equipment into space. "Sorry," Saitama called to the scarab, "but you guys are attacking my new friends." He jumped, flipping in midair, and brought his heel down on the scarab's frontal armor. The walker collapsed like a crushed insect, its Lekgolo colony scattering as the machine disintegrated. Sangheli warriors charged. Saitama moved through them like wind through grass, each casual motion sending armored bodies flying. He wasn't trying to kill them. Most of his hits were pulls that still sent warriors crashing into bulkheads hard enough to dent armor, but not hard enough to be fatal. "Look," he said as he deflected energy swords and blocked plasma bolts, "I don't want to hurt anyone. Just stop attacking that ship and we're good." A zealot, mandibles spread in fury, activated active camouflage and attempted to flank. Saitama grabbed him without looking, holding the invisible elite by the neck. "Nice trick," Saitama said, "but I can feel where you are. Something about air displacement? I don't know the science." The zealot deactivated his camouflage, honor demanding he face death visible. But Saitama just set him down gently. "Go," the hero said. "Get to your escape pods. This ship's done." The zealot stared, mandibles quivering. "You spare me? I'm a hero, not an executioner. I fight bad guys and monsters. You're just soldiers following orders." Saitama looked around at the chaos, the dying ship, the terrified warriors. "Pretty sure you've been lied to about a lot of stuff anyway." He left the zealot and punched through the deck, making his way toward the carrier's bridge. Behind him, warriors watched the bald demon descend, their faith cracking like overstressed metal. Saitama emerged on the bridge. Shipmaster Thav Sebarim stood alone, his crew having evacuated, energy sword in hand. "I will not flee," Thav declared. "I am shipmaster. I die with my vessel." "Or," Saitama countered, "you could not die, that seems better. You dishonor me with mercy, demon." "I'm giving you information," Saitama pointed at the view screen showing the remaining Covenant ships. "Your prophets lied to you. The halos aren't salvation, they're weapons that kill everyone. And your holy war? It's built on lies." Thav's energy sword wavered. "You speak heresy. I speak truth. Check with your prisoner, the shipmaster I captured. Ask him what I told him. Ask him what he's starting to believe." The assault carrier groaned, structural integrity failing. Alarms indicated reactor breach in 60 seconds. "Leave," Saitama said. "Tell your people what you learned here. Tell them the ball guy said the prophets are full of crap." He grabbed Thav gently and threw him toward an escape pod, the shipmaster's trajectory perfectly calculated to land him in the craft's open airlock. Then Saitama jumped off the dying carrier, leaving it to break apart in silent explosions. 5 Covenant ships destroyed, 7 remaining, fleeing in terror, broadcasting warnings about the demon that walked through fire and spoke heresy. Saitama floated back to an amber clad, knocked on the hull, and waited for the airlock to cycle. When he climbed back inside, soaking wet from emergency decontamination showers, Miranda Keyes and her entire bridge crew were staring at him in absolute silence. "Did I do okay?" Saitama asked. The Arbiter, Thel Vadam, once Supreme Commander of the Fleet of Particular Justice, now branded heretic and outcast, stood in the ruins of a Forerunner facility on Delta Halo's surface and contemplated impossibility. Before him, displayed on a holographic terminal activated by 343 Guilty Spark, were recordings salvaged from Day of Jubilation's final moments. The monitor had intercepted the Covenant distress signals with gleeful academic interest, eager to catalog new data about reclaimers and their conflicts. The hologram showed everything. The bald human walking through hard vacuum, destroying warships with his fists. Speaking heresy to Shipmaster Thav Sebarim while the assault carrier collapsed around them. "Fascinating," Guilty Spark chirped, his single photoreceptor brightening with enthusiasm. "This entity demonstrates capabilities inconsistent with standard reclaimer biology. Perhaps a Forerunner augmentation experiment? Though our records contain no such modifications. Most curious." Beside the Arbiter, Sergeant Johnson, the tough-as-nails Marine who'd survived more than any human should, let out a low whistle. "That's the guy who's been helping Keyes? Damn. Oni's going to have a field day trying to dissect him. They will try, Thel said quietly, his mandibles tight. They will fail. Johnson glanced at the elite. You sound pretty certain. I have seen many warriors in my service to the Covenant. Spartans, brutes, hunters bound in Lekgolo unity. This, Thel gestured at the hologram. This is something beyond warfare. He moves through combat as if it is beneath his notice. Not arrogance, simple fact. The hologram replayed the moment where Saitama caught the scarab's plasma beam. Johnson shook his head. Physics says that's impossible. Physics, 343 Guilty Spark interjected, is a flexible concept when dealing with Forerunner technology. The conservation of energy, for instance, was more of a guideline in our higher dimensional experiments. This entity may represent a similar paradigm violation. English spark, Johnson growled. He breaks reality. Reality tolerates this. Unprecedented. Thel deactivated the hologram. His mandibles clicked in thought, a habit that signaled deep consideration among Sangheli. For decades, he had served the Covenant's lies, had burned worlds in the Prophet's names, had believed in the great journey with every fiber of his being. Then truth had shattered faith. The rings were weapons, the prophets were manipulators. The Forerunner's divine blessing was just advanced technology, comprehensible and conquerable. Now this bald human appeared, speaking the same truths, but demonstrating power that made even Forerunner weapons seem pedestrian. We should make contact, Thel decided. With the one-man wrecking crew? Johnson asked. What's the play, Arbiter? Recruit him to fight the Covenant? He's already doing that by himself. I seek understanding. He told Thav Sebarim the same truths I learned from the sacred icon from this very monitor. If he knows the prophets deceive, then he's an ally, Johnson finished, or another player in this whole mess. Either way, intel's good. 343. Guilty Spark bobbed excitedly. Oh, may I accompany you? I have so many questions about his cellular structure. Do you think he'd submit to scanning? Perhaps a small biopsy, just a few cells. For science. No, Thel and Johnson said simultaneously. They found Saitama on an amber-clad's observation deck, staring out at Delta Halo's curve against the star field. The ring world stretched across the viewport, 10,000 kilometers of Forerunner engineering, ancient and vast and terrifyingly purposeful. Never gets old, Saitama said without turning. The view, I mean. My Earth didn't have these giant space rings. Thel approached cautiously, hand hovering near his energy sword, not because he believed it would help, but because habit died hard. You are the one they call Saitama. Yeah. Saitama turned and Thel got his first direct look at the being who destroyed 5 warships. He looked ordinary. No armor, no weapons, no visible augmentation. Just a bald man with an unremarkable face and eyes that suggested profound, almost infinite boredom. You spoke heresy to Shipmaster Thav, Thel continued. Told him the great journey is a lie. It is a lie, Saitama replied. Those ring things kill everyone in the galaxy. That AI, Guilty Spark, the annoying floating robot, explained it to me. Seems pretty clear. And yet you speak it with such certainty, as if such cosmic horror is merely fact. Because it is fact, Saitama scratched his head. I don't get why everyone makes it complicated. Bad guys want to activate Doomsday weapon. Good guys want to stop them. I help good guys. Simple, Johnson snorted. Kid's got a point, Arbiter. We spend so much time on politics and religion and tactical doctrine, we forget sometimes it's just about keeping people alive. Thel's mandibles clicked again. He studied Saitama, the casual posture, the complete lack of fear or aggression, the sense of power held in check like a star contained in flesh. "Why do you fight?" Thel asked. "You have no stake in this war, no connection to humanity's survival or the Covenant's faith. Yet you wade into battle against impossible odds." "I'm a hero," Saitama said. "It's what I do." "That is not an answer. It's the only answer." Saitama met Thel's eyes, and for a moment the Arbiter saw something beneath the boredom, something ancient and tired and still somehow hopeful. "I got strong, stronger than anyone. At first I thought that was great, but then I realized that being strong meant people needed me to protect them, so I do. Even if it's boring, even if there's no challenge, even if I'm stuck in another universe fighting aliens I don't understand." "You seek challenge," Thel observed. "The human report said you were disappointed that the Covenant ships fell so easily." "Yeah, back home every fight ended in one punch, one kick, one headbutt. Never found anyone who could actually give me a real fight. Thought maybe in a different universe." Saitama trailed off, shrugging. "Same story." Johnson whistled again. "You're telling me you're bored after punching through capital ships?" "Super bored." Thel felt something strange, empathy for this impossible being. The Arbiter understood seeking purpose in combat, finding only emptiness. He had burned worlds and found no glory, had killed heroes and felt no pride. Only when he learned the truth had he found meaning. Redemption through opposition to lies. "Perhaps," Thel said carefully, "your challenge is not strength against strength, but wisdom against ignorance. You defeated those ships easily, but can you defeat the ideas that make such wars necessary?" Saitama blinked. "That sounds really philosophical." "It is reality. The prophet's lies have enslaved billions for millennia. Truth spreads slowly. If you truly wish to help, to be the hero you claim, then defeating ships is insufficient. You must defeat belief." "How do I punch belief?" "You cannot. You must speak instead. Witness, challenge, demonstrate." 343. Guilty Spark, who had been hovering silently until now, chimed in. "Oh, a psychological warfare approach, fascinating. Undermine enemy morale through demonstration of superior paradigm." The Forerunners employed similar tactics during the human Forerunner wars, though with less punching and more stellar engineering. Saitama looked at the monitor, then at Johnson, then at Thel. "So you're saying instead of just wrecking their ships, I should talk to them?" "Make them question," Thel corrected. "As you did with Thav Sebarim, as you did with Voro Mantakri. Plant seeds of doubt in warriors' minds. Let truth spread like the parasite spreads, unstoppable, inevitable, consuming the lies that sustain the Covenant." "That's actually pretty smart," Saitama admitted. He rubbed his bald head thoughtfully. "Though it sounds like a lot more work than just punching stuff." "Real change," Johnson said, lighting a cigar despite regulations. "Always is." The observation deck's intercom crackled. Commander Keyes' voice carried urgency. All personnel, battle stations were detecting a massive slipspace rupture. Multiple contacts incoming. Looks like... Oh, hell. The viewport lit up with new arrivals. Not a fleet, an armada. Dozens of ships from frigates to assault carriers surrounding a massive command vessel that dwarfed them all. A CSO-class supercarrier over 28 kilometers long, bristling with enough weaponry to exterminate entire star systems. Guilty Spark's photoreceptor dimmed. Oh my, that is significantly problematic. The supercarrier broadcast across all frequencies, voice filtered through religious fervor and righteous fury. "Hear the words of the prophet of truth. The demon is here, the abomination that mocks the gods. All faithful converge. Destroy the bald heretic, and your names shall be written in the stars. The great journey awaits those who succeed." Saitama looked at the armada, then at his companions. So, talk to them or punch them? Thel's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. Perhaps both, demon, perhaps both. The supercarrier Sublime Transcendence hung in space like a cathedral carved from metal and divine purpose, its vast hull decorated with covenant glyphs proclaiming holy vengeance. Inside its meditation chamber, the prophet of truth floated in his gravity throne, aged fingers steepled beneath his chin as he watched tactical displays catalog the growing fleet. 47 ships had answered his call. More were arriving through slipspace every hour. Zealots eager for glory, warriors seeking redemption, entire battle groups abandoning their posts to hunt the bald demon. The Covenant's carefully maintained hierarchy was fracturing under religious fervor, and Truth allowed himself a thin smile. Perfect chaos, he murmured. His attendant, a minor prophet named Exquisite Devotion, hovered nearby. Holy Hierarch, the fleet grows restless. They demand permission to attack the human frigate. Let them wait. Anticipation sharpens faith. Truth cycled through the holographic. Feeds, surveillance from multiple ships, showing in amber-clad holding position near Delta Halo, the small frigate utterly outmatched. The demon will come to us. His type always does. Heroes cannot resist the grand gesture. And if he destroys the entire fleet as he did Day of Jubilation, then we learn his limits. Truth's eyes gleamed. Every demigod has a threshold. The Spartans bleed. Forerunner constructs malfunction. This anomaly, powerful as he seems, must have constraints. Mass engagement will reveal them. What Truth didn't say aloud was the contingency. If Saitama proved truly unstoppable, the Prophet had already positioned assets near Installation 05's control room. Better to activate one ring and eliminate this threat than risk him disrupting the journey to the Ark. The galaxy would burn before Truth surrendered control. Aboard in amber-clad, Miranda Keyes ran tactical scenarios for the 15th time, and every simulation ended the same way. Complete annihilation, within 4 minutes. We can't fight this, she said to the assembled group, Thel, Johnson, Saitama, and her senior officers. Even if we ran for Delta Halo's surface, they'd glass us from orbit. Our only option is to abandon ship, scatter in pelicans, and hope some of us survive long enough for reinforcement. Negative, Johnson replied. We abandon ship, we abandon our wounded. I've got 30 Marines in medical who can't be moved. Then we're choosing between 30 lives and 300. Commanders do not leave soldiers behind, even for arithmetic. The argument threatened to spiral, but Saitama interrupted. I'll handle it. Miranda turned to him, exhausted. Saitama, that's nearly 50 warships. The supercarrier alone has enough firepower to sterilize a continent. Even you. Even me what? He looked genuinely curious. You think I can't handle it? I think there's a difference between destroying 5 ships and facing an entire armada designed to kill you. Yeah, specifically. Saitama stood, stretching his arms. Well, there's only one way to find out. Besides, the elite guy made a good point earlier. Maybe I should try talking first. Thel's mandibles flickered in surprise. You listened? I listen to people, I just don't always follow advice. Saitama headed toward the airlock. But yeah, trying to change their minds sounds better than wrecking all their ships. That'd take like an hour, and I'm kinda tired of fighting today. An hour, Miranda repeated faintly. He thinks fighting 50 warships would take an hour. He's probably overestimating, Johnson said. Based on what we've seen, 20 minutes tops. Saitama floated in space between in amber-clad and the Covenant armada, suspended in vacuum like a mediator at a cosmic negotiation. Behind him, the UNSC frigate held position, point defense systems tracking but not firing. Ahead, the assembled fleet bristled with weapons. Plasma torpedoes charging, energy projectors warming up, fighter craft swarming like insects around a carcass. He'd asked Commander Keyes to patch him into the Covenant communication channels. After some technical wizardry from Ashok, his voice now broadcast across every ship's network. "Hi," Saitama said. "I'm the guy you're here to fight. The bald demon, whatever you called me. Before we start punching each other, I wanted to talk." Silence. Then from dozens of ships simultaneously, laughter. Scornful, disbelieving laughter from warriors who'd spent lifetimes in combat, who'd faced Spartans and survived, who considered themselves the Covenant's finest. A Sangheili fleet master's voice cut through. "The demon seeks mercy. The gods test us with cowardice disguised as strength." "Not mercy," Saitama corrected. "Information. Your prophets are lying to you. The halos, your sacred rings, they're not salvation. They're weapons that kill everything in the galaxy, all life, humans, Covenant, everything. Activating them doesn't lead to a great journey. It just leads to death." More laughter. But beneath it, Saitama heard something else. Uncertainty. Questioning. The same doubt he'd heard in Voro's voice, in Thav's trembling mandibles. "I know some of you are starting to wonder," he continued. "You've seen things that don't match what the prophets taught. You've fought humans who were just trying to survive. You've questioned why the Forerunners would leave weapons instead of welcome mats. I'm telling you, your doubts are right. You've been lied to." The Prophet of Truth's voice overrode all channels, smooth and venomous. "Do not listen to the demon's poison. He seeks to corrupt your faith, to turn you from the path. The great journey requires sacrifice. This is his trial. Destroy him and prove your worthiness." "See?" Saitama said. "He's not even denying it, just telling you to ignore me. That's what liars do when they're cornered." "Enough!" The Fleet Master's ship, a Cass-class assault carrier named Infinite, Devotion, surged forward, every weapon firing simultaneously. Saitama sighed. "Guess we're doing this the hard way." The plasma barrage hit him dead center, dozens of torpedoes converging on a single point, temperatures exceeding stellar cores. The detonation lit up Delta Halo's night side, visible from the surface as a new temporary sun. When the light faded, Saitama floated unchanged, cape gently waving in solar wind. "Okay," he said quietly. "Here's a demonstration." He moved. Saitama crossed 6 kilometers in less than a second, appearing on Infinite Devotion's hull. He raised one fist and brought it down. Not full force, not even close, but enough. The impact rippled through the assault carrier's superstructure like a stone dropped in still water. Hull plating buckled. Internal supports groaned. The ship lurched, gravity systems flickering as power conduits overloaded. But Saitama didn't punch through. Didn't destroy, he just demonstrated. Then he jumped to the next ship, and the next. Moving through the fleet like a ghost, touching each vessel just enough to prove he could destroy it, but choosing not to. Each impact was a message. I could end you. I'm choosing not to. Warriors aboard those ships felt the vibrations, felt their invincible war machines shudder under casual taps from a being who treated capital ships like drums. Faith cracked. Certainty wavered. Saitama returned to the center of the formation, addressing them all again. "I don't want to destroy you. I want you to think, ask questions, demand answers from your prophets. Find out what the sacred rings actually do before you activate them and kill everyone." Aboard Sublime Transcendence, Truth watched his carefully constructed religious fervor evaporating. Warriors were questioning, ships were holding fire. The demon was winning not through force, but through doubt. "Unacceptable," Truth hissed. He activated a private channel to 3 specific ships, vessels crewed by the most fanatical, zealots, warriors who would die before questioning the prophets. The demon uses trickery and heresy, Truth told them. Show the fleet what faith demands, martyr yourselves, prove your devotion. The 3 ships, all frigates, all staffed by crews who'd sworn blood oaths to the prophets, activated their self-destruct sequences and accelerated towards Saitama at maximum burn. Thel saw it from an amber-clad's bridge. No, they're going to... The frigates detonated simultaneously, 3 ships' worth of plasma reactors overloading in a coordinated suicide strike. The combined explosion dwarfed anything the UNSC had in its arsenal, a sphere of annihilation expanding at relativistic speeds. Saitama, caught at the center, simply tanked it. When the radiation cleared, he floated in the debris field, singed cape smoking slightly but otherwise untouched. He looked disappointed. "Really?" he called to the remaining fleet. "You just killed your own people to try and hurt me. That's what your faith demands. Suicide bombs?" Silence across the Covenant channels. Even the most zealous warriors felt the wrongness of it, not the attempt to kill the demon, but the waste of faithful lives in an attack everyone now saw had been pointless. Truth's voice returned, but it had lost its smooth certainty. "The martyrs ascend to..." "Shut up," Saitama interrupted. "I'm done listening to you. Warriors of the Covenant, you have a choice. Keep following prophets who send you to pointless deaths, or start thinking for yourselves. I'm going back to that human ship. Anyone who wants to actually talk, really talk, not fight, meet me there. Everyone else, just leave." He turned and floated back to an amber-clad, leaving 44 warships in stunned silence. Aboard 17 ships, warriors looked at each other and began asking dangerous questions. Aboard Sublime Transcendence, Truth's aged hands clenched into fists. The demon had done in minutes what would have taken separatist propaganda months. Fractured certainty, planted doubt, made warriors question. "Prepare the Delta Halo activation codes," Truth commanded. "If we cannot kill the demon conventionally, we will use the sacred ring itself." 343. Guilty Spark had existed for over 100,000 years. He had witnessed the firing of the Halo array, had maintained Installation 04 through millennia of isolation, had watched civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. He considered himself, with justification, extensively experienced in the unusual. Saitama broke his classification systems. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. The monitor bobbed around Saitama's head as the hero sat in an amber-clad's hangar bay, eating what the Marines called chicken, but what Guilty Spark's sensors identified as processed protein substitute. Your cellular structure defies conventional analysis. Each cell appears to be simultaneously organic and something else, as if biology achieved metaphysical transcendence. "Uh-huh," Saitama said between bites. "Do you understand the implications? Your body exists in a state of impossible efficiency. No Forerunner augmentation could achieve such..." "Spark," Commander Keyes interrupted, stepping into the hangar with Thel and Johnson. "Please stop harassing our guest with science." "But Commander Keyes, the potential discoveries, if we could just..." "No biopsies, no scanning, no gentle vaporization for sample collection." The monitor dimmed slightly, disappointed. "You organics are so protective of your cellular integrity." Thel approached Saitama, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. 17 ships have broken formation. 5 have requested communication channels with this vessel. The remaining ships hold position but do not advance. You have fractured Truth's fleet without destroying it. "Is that good?" Saitama asked. "It is unprecedented." Thel sat, an unusual gesture for a Sangheili warrior, showing respect by reducing his height advantage. Warriors are taught absolute faith. Questioning the prophets is heresy punishable by death, yet you have made them question simply by demonstrating truth through action. I just showed them I could destroy their ships and chose not to. Seemed pretty straightforward. To you, perhaps. To warriors raised in absolute dogma, it is revolutionary. Thel's voice carried weight. The prophets maintain power through fear and faith. You offer something more dangerous, choice. Johnson nodded, cigar smoke curling. Kids accidentally started a reformation or a civil war. Hard to tell which at this point. Miranda consulted her tactical display. The 5 ships requesting communication. What are they asking for? Clarification, Ashok reported. They want to speak with the bald demon directly. They're asking for evidence about the Halo Array's true purpose. Saitama stood, stretching. Okay, let's talk to them. It might be a trap, Miranda warned. Probably, but if even one of them actually listens, that's better than just fighting forever, right? The communication was established in the observation deck. Holographic projectors displayed 5 Sangheili shipmasters, veterans all, their armor marked with decades of service, their eyes showing uncertainty that warriors were never supposed to feel. The eldest spoke first, a zealot named Orna Fulsami. I am of the fleet of righteous vigilance. I have burned 17 human worlds in the prophets' names. I have led warriors through 100 battles. I do not question lightly, demon. Then don't question lightly, Saitama replied. Ask seriously. What do you want to know? The sacred rings. You claim they are weapons, not transcendence. Prove it. Saitama gestured to Guilty Spark. Tell them. The monitor brightened, delighted to lecture. Oh, certainly. Installation 04, my installation, was designed as part of the Halo Array, 7 ring worlds strategically positioned to sterilize the galaxy of all sentient life. Their purpose was to eliminate the flood parasite by removing its food source, you. The Forerunners activated the array 100,000 years ago, committing species-wide genocide to stop the flood spread. Quite effective, really. Though it did require the Forerunners to sacrifice themselves along with lies. Another shipmaster, younger and more zealous, roared. The monitor is corrupted. The demon has poisoned its protocols. I assure you, Guilty Spark said primly, my protocols are quite intact. Would you like to review the original Forerunner data files? I have extensive records of the array's construction, including design specifications, tactical deployment strategies, and casualty estimates. The numbers are rather staggering. Approximately 3 trillion sentient beings, give or take a few 100 billion. Silence. Orna's mandibles quivered. 3 trillion. Plus all non-sentient life above certain neural complexity thresholds. The Forerunners were very thorough, had to be given the flood's adaptability. The 5 shipmasters looked at each other, centuries of faith crumbling in real time. One spoke, voice barely above a whisper. The great journey is death. Your great journey, Thel interjected, is genocide. The prophets know this. They have known from the beginning. I learned this truth from the sacred icon, another monitor on a different installation. The demon speaks what I already discovered. Our religion is built on lies designed to maintain profit control. But why? Orna demanded. Why would the hierarchs deceive us? What purpose does it serve? Saitama shrugged. Control? Power? Back in my world, people lied about all sorts of stuff to stay in charge. Seems pretty universal. The prophets, Miranda added, bringing up Oni intelligence files, discovered Forerunner technology that labeled humans as reclaimers. inheritors of Forerunner legacy. This contradicted their entire religious hierarchy. Rather than admit the truth, they declared humanity heretics and started a war to exterminate the evidence. 30 years of war, another shipmaster whispered. Billions dead, entire species driven to extinction, all to hide the prophet's lies. Yes, Thel said simply. The implications hung in the air like a poisonous gas. These warriors had devoted lifetimes to faith, had committed atrocities in holy names, had sacrificed countless brothers in arms for a great journey that was just execution disguised as transcendence. Orna's energy sword activated, not aimed at anyone, just ignited in trembling hands. I have killed so many, so start making it right, Saitama said. Tell other ships, spread the truth. Stop following orders from liars. You can't undo the past, but you can change the future. You speak of redemption, Orna said, as if it were simple. It's not simple, but it's possible. That elite over there... Saitama pointed at Thel. He was labeled a heretic and nearly executed. Now he's fighting to stop the rings from activating. If he can change, so can you. The 5 shipmasters processed this. Then one by one they deactivated their weapons and bowed, a gesture of respect that warriors rarely showed to anyone outside the Covenant hierarchy. We will withdraw, Orna declared. We will carry your words to others who still think. But know this, demon. Not all will listen. Truth commands zealots who would die before questioning. The war does not end with words alone. I know, Saitama replied, but words are a start. The communication ended. Miranda turned to her tactical station. Ashok, how many ships are leaving? 12 have broken formation and are entering slip space. 5 are holding position but have powered down weapons. The remaining 27 are regrouping around the supercarrier. So we've cut their force in half, Johnson observed. Not bad for a philosophy lecture. The dangerous half remains, Thel warned. True believers and those too afraid to question. They will fight with the fury of cornered faith. As if to punctuate his words, the supercarrier Sublime Transcendence broadcast on all frequencies. Hear the word of the prophet of truth. The demon has shown his true nature. Corruption of the faithful through lies and cowardice. Warriors who flee are heretics. Warriors who question are condemned. All who remain loyal, we proceed to Delta Halo's control room. We will activate the sacred ring and begin the great journey. The faithful ascend. The demons burn. This is the path. Guilty Spark's photoreceptor flared red. Oh dear, that's problematic. If they access the control room with activation codes, which the prophets would have obtained from High Charity's data stores, they could begin Installation 05's firing sequence in approximately 14 minutes. Can you stop it? Miranda demanded. I can delay it. Override protocols. Introduce system malfunctions, but the prophets have studied Forerunner systems for millennia. Eventually, they will bypass my countermeasures. Saitama stood. Then I'll stop them before they start. The control room is buried deep in the library structure, Guilty Spark explained, bringing up Choa schematics. Hundreds of corridors, sentinel defenses, multiple security layers designed to prevent unauthorized access. Even at your speed, navigating there would take... Saitama looked at the schematic, calculated the distance, and jumped straight up. He punched through an amber-clad's hull, through Delta Halo's atmosphere, through kilometers of air, and impacted the ring's surface directly above the library complex. The landing cratered the ancient metal, setting off Forerunner defense protocols that activated Sentinel construction facilities not used in 100,000 years. Saitama looked at the assembled Sentinels, floating machines with energy beam weapons, and sighed. Look, I don't have time for this. I need to get to that control room before the bad guys activate the death ring. Can you just let me through? The Sentinels processed this request through ancient logic cores. One concluded. Insufficient authorization. They opened fire. Saitama walked through the energy, beams like rain, reached the library entrance, and punched through the reinforced door that had survived 100 millennia. Sorry, he called back to the Sentinels. I'll try not to break too much stuff. He descended into the library's depths at a run, each step cracking Forerunner metal that had withstood eons. Behind him, alarms screamed, defense systems activated, and 343 Guilty Spark's frantic voice echoed through Installation 05's network. Please be careful. Those are irreplaceable archaeological treasures. Somewhat replaceable with significant effort. Oh, do watch out for the... Saitama crashed through a laser grid. Security systems. The library's control room existed as a monument to Forerunner achievement. A spherical chamber 300 meters across, walls covered in holographic interfaces that displayed Installation 05's status in real time. At the center, elevated on a platform of hard light, sat the index receptacle. A simple pedestal that, when paired with the sacred icon, could trigger galactic annihilation. The Prophet of Truth hovered into this chamber surrounded by his most zealous honor guards. Sangheili warriors in golden armor who had proven their loyalty through decades of service. Behind them, brute enforcers in powered armor gripped plasma rifles, ready to kill anything that threatened their holy mission. Truth's aged eyes swept across the ancient machinery with satisfaction. Finally, after all the setbacks, all the interference from demons and heretics, and that impossibly frustrating bald anomaly, he stood at the threshold of ultimate power. Begin the activation sequence, he commanded. Minor Prophet attendant approached the index receptacle, carrying the sacred icon recovered from Installation 05's temple. The object, a small key-like device that contained security overrides for the Halo array, hummed with Forerunner technology as it neared its socket. Above them, through hundreds of meters of library structure, something approached at speeds that made Sentinel sensors malfunction. Guilty Spark's voice crackled through the chamber's ancient speakers. Warning! Unauthorized intrusion detected. Reclaimer Protocol Alpha 77 activated. All personnel please evacuate in an orderly... Saitama crashed through the ceiling. He fell 300 meters, landing on the hard light platform with an impact that sent fractures spiderwebbing through technology designed to last forever. The Minor Prophet screamed and dropped the index. Truth's honor guards immediately opened fire, plasma bolts converging on the intruder. Saitama walked through the barrage, cape smoking, from heat that couldn't burn him. Sorry for dropping in like that. The front door had a lot of laser grids and floating robots. Seemed faster to take a shortcut. Demon, Truth hissed, his smooth political voice cracking with genuine rage. You dare desecrate this holy place? This holy place is a control room for a galaxy-killing weapon. I'm pretty sure stopping you from using it counts as good, not desecration. Saitama looked around at the assembled Covenant forces, 24 honor guards, 30 brute enforcers, various minor prophets, and attendants. Seriously, just walk away. Nobody has to get hurt. A brute chieftain, a massive specimen named Bractanus, who'd earned his rank through brutal efficiency, roared and charged. The chieftain stood 3 meters tall, wore full-powered armor, and wielded a gravity hammer that could pancake vehicles. He swung the hammer at Saitama's head with enough force to shatter concrete. Saitama caught it one-handed, the hammer's gravity field, designed to amplify kinetic energy and create localized gravitational distortions, tried to crush him. Failed. Saitama looked at the weapon curiously. This thing's heavier than it looks. Some kind of gravity manipulation? He pulled gently and the hammer tore free from Bractanus's grip. Saitama examined it, then set it down carefully. Neat design. You should probably not use it for murder, though. Bractanus stared at his empty hands, then at the bald human, then back at his hands. His honor as a warrior demanded he attack. His survival instinct, honed through decades of combat, screamed at him to flee. Truth made the decision for everyone. Kill him, all of you. Activate the index. We achieve the great journey or we die in holy martyrdom. The honor guards charged as one. Saitama sighed. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration of the gap between conventional warfare and absolute power. Saitama moved through the honor guards like a dancer through statues, each motion precise and minimal. An energy sword thrust toward his chest. He sidestepped, grabbed the warrior's wrist and gently redirected him into a wall, hard enough to dent armor and stun, not hard enough to kill. A fuel rod cannon fired at point-blank range. Saitama caught the explosive round, its detonation fizzling against his palm, and tossed it gently aside where it exploded harmlessly. The brutes tried overwhelming him through mass, 30 armored warriors piling onto a single target. Saitama let them grab him, then simply stood up. The entire pile of brutes rose with him, clinging desperately as he walked across the chamber like a man wearing particularly aggressive clothing. "Get off," he said politely and flexed. The shockwave sent all 30 brutes flying in different directions, impacting walls and ceilings with thuds that would leave concussions but not corpses. Truth watched his perfect plan disintegrating. The bald demon wasn't just powerful, he was restrained, deliberately pulling his punches, choosing not to kill when killing would have been easier. This wasn't the behavior of a weapon or a monster. This was something worse, a being with power and principles. "You cannot stop the great journey," Truth shrieked, abandoning his usual composure. "The Covenant spans 1,000 worlds. Billions serve the prophets. Even if you destroy me, others will complete." Saitama appeared in front of Truth's gravity throne so fast the prophet didn't see him move. One moment the demon was across the chamber. The next he was face to face with the hierarch, close enough that Truth could smell the odd scent of whatever strange world had spawned this impossibility. "Here's what's going to happen," Saitama said quietly. "You're going to stop trying to activate the death ring. You're going to call off your fleets, and you're going to tell everyone in the Covenant that the great journey is a lie." Truth's mandibles clicked in what might have been a laugh. "You think you can intimidate me, demon? I am the voice of the gods. I am..." Saitama reached past the prophet and grabbed the index from where it had fallen. The sacred icon, an artifact the Covenant had sought for decades, an object of religious reverence, looked like a TV remote in Saitama's hand. "This is the kill switch for the galaxy, right?" Saitama asked. Guilty Spark's voice crackled. "Technically, it's an activation mechanism that interfaces with the installation's security protocols to override safety systems and initiate the..." "So yes." Saitama looked at the index, then at Truth, then at the assembled Covenant forces who were groggily recovering from being scattered. "How about I just keep this? No index, no activation, problem solved." Truth's aged face contorted with fury. "You understand nothing. The great journey is inevitable. If not through Installation 05, then through the Ark. If not today, then tomorrow. The Covenant's faith cannot be stopped by... Faith built on lies stops pretty easy," Saitama interrupted. "I've already got like a dozen of your ships questioning everything. More are gonna follow. Eventually enough warriors will figure out you've been lying, and then what? You gonna fight your own people?" The prophet's eyes narrowed. "If necessary." Saitama saw it then, the truth beneath the religious rhetoric. This wasn't about faith for truth. It was about power, control. The prophet didn't believe in the great journey any more than Saitama did. He just wanted to maintain dominance, and if that required genocide disguised as salvation, then so be it. "You're just a politician," Saitama said, disappointed. "Back home, I fought guys who wanted to rule the world. They had better speeches." Truth reached for a hidden control on his throne, a failsafe, a last, desperate measure. Throughout the library, explosive charges activated, devices planted weeks ago when the prophet had first learned of Installation 05's location. The charges were designed to destabilize the control room's structural supports, causing a collapse that would bury everyone inside. If truth couldn't have transcendence, he'd have martyrdom. The explosions ripped through the chamber, Forerunner metal, ancient and durable but not indestructible, shattered under shaped charges placed at critical load points. The ceiling buckled, walls cracked, the hard light platform flickered and failed. Covenant warriors screamed as the structure came down. Saitama moved. He became a blur, grabbing honor guards and brutes and minor prophets, stacking them in the chamber's most structurally sound corner, using his own body to shield them from falling debris. A chunk of ceiling the size of a warthog plummeted toward a stunned Sanghili. Saitama caught it with one hand, holding thousands of kilograms of collapsing architecture while pushing the warrior to safety with his other hand. The collapse continued for 17 seconds. When it ended, the library's control room had been reduced to rubble. Forerunner technology that had survived 100,000 years, destroyed in moments by explosives and prophet desperation. Saitama stood in the wreckage, cape torn but otherwise unharmed, surrounded by the Covenant forces he'd just saved from their own leader's suicide plan. In his hand, undamaged, he still held the index. The Covenant warriors stared at him, at the demon who'd fought them, beaten them, and then saved their lives without hesitation. An honor guard, an older Sanghili whose armor bore the marks of countless battles, spoke first, voice rough with shock. "You protected us. Why?" "Because you're not the bad guys," Saitama replied. "That guy is." He pointed at the rubble where Truth's throne had been, movement beneath the debris. The prophet had survived, protected by his throne's shielding. "He tried to kill all of you along with me just to get what he wanted. That's what your prophets think of you. Tools to be sacrificed." The honor guard looked at the rubble, at his fellow warriors, at the bald human who'd just rewritten everything he thought he knew about demons and faith and duty. His energy sword deactivated. One by one, the other warriors followed suit, weapons powering down, ancient gestures of surrender spreading through the survivors. Bractanus, the brute chieftain, retrieved his gravity hammer, looked at Saitama and slowly set it down. The prophet, he ordered our deaths, to bury his failure. "Yeah," Saitama confirmed. "That's what happens when you follow people who see you as disposable." Truth finally emerged from the rubble, his hover throne damaged but functional, his expression pure venom. "Traitors, all of you, the demon has corrupted—" "Shut up," Saitama said tiredly. He walked over and plucked Truth from his throne like picking up a misbehaving cat. The prophet struggled, aged limbs flailing uselessly. "You're done. No more lying, no more wars, no more trying to blow up the galaxy. The Covenant will hunt you across the stars. Every warrior just watched you try to kill them." Saitama looked at the assembled forces. "How many of you still want to follow this guy?" Silence. Not a single warrior raised their weapon. Not a single voice defended the prophet. Truth's expression shifted from fury to dawning horror. Without the Covenant's faith, without warriors willing to die for his words, he was just an old Sanshayum in a broken chair, powerless and exposed. The great journey, Truth whispered. Was always a lie, Saitama finished, and now everyone knows it. The Forward unto Dawn, a frigate fresh from resupply at Earth. Translated from slipspace above Delta Halo to find a situation that made no tactical sense. Captain Miranda Keyes had sent increasingly bizarre status reports over the past 6 hours. Now, as the frigate's sensors painted the tactical picture, Commander Richard Lash understood why his superiors at FleetCom had gone silent when he'd asked for clarification. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice uncertain, "I'm reading 17 Covenant vessels in formation with an amber-clad, mixed classes, assault carriers, frigates, destroyers. They're broadcasting UNSC IFF codes. That's impossible. The Covenant doesn't use our transponders." "I'm aware, sir, but that's what they're transmitting. And they're requesting permission to dock and parley." Lash had fought the Covenant for 8 years. He'd seen glassing runs. He'd lost 3 ships under his command to overwhelming alien firepower. The idea of Covenant vessels requesting peaceful negotiation made his instincts scream trap. Weapon status? All Covenant vessels have powered down plasma batteries, energy projectors offline, launch bays sealed. Sir, they're dead in the water. If we wanted to engage, we could destroy half of them before they could return fire, which meant either an elaborate trap or something unprecedented was happening. Lash opened a channel to an amber-clad. "Commander Keyes, this is the Forward unto Dawn. Please advise on situation." Miranda's holographic image appeared, and Lash was struck by how exhausted she looked, but also how determined. "Commander Lash, the situation is complicated. The Covenant vessels in formation are defectors. Warriors who've broken with the Prophets after learning the truth about the Halo array. Defectors. Confirmed. They're requesting transport to neutral ground, one of the Forerunner facilities on the ring, to negotiate a ceasefire and information exchange. They want to coordinate against the Prophet of Truth." "Commander, with all respect, this sounds like a trap designed to—" "It's legitimate," another voice cut in. The Arbiter's image appeared beside Miranda's. "I am Thel Vadam, once Supreme Commander of the Covenant Fleet. I speak for the warriors who have chosen truth over dogma. We seek alliance against those who would activate the Halo array and destroy all life." Lash stared at the elite commander. Oni intelligence had flagged Thel Vadam as a high-value target for years. A brilliant strategist responsible for dozens of UNSC defeats. Now he stood on a human bridge, speaking of alliance. "And we're supposed to trust the word of the Covenant's finest butcher?" "No," Thel replied calmly. "You are supposed to trust the mathematics of mutual survival. The Prophet of Truth commands a fleet traveling toward Earth and the portal to the Ark. If he reaches the Ark and activates the Halo array, humans and Covenant die equally. Alliance is not friendship. It is necessity." Before Lash could respond, a third image appeared. A bald human in a yellow suit who looked utterly out of place in this military exchange. "Also," Saitama added, "I'm holding the Prophet of Truth prisoner, and I punched him until he agreed to a ceasefire. So that helps." Lash blinked. "I'm sorry, who are you?" "Saitama. I'm kind of new here. Long story." Miranda interjected, "Commander, I'm uploading full mission logs now. You'll want to review them before making any decisions, but the short version. We have an opportunity to fracture the Covenant from within. Shipmasters and warriors across multiple fleets are questioning the Prophets. If we can support this rebellion, we might end the war without fighting. Or," Lash countered, "we walk into a trap and lose Earth." "The Covenant at Earth numbers hundreds of ships," Thel said. "Truth's most zealous followers, warriors who will never question. But there are others scattered across the Empire aboard. Vessels where doubt grows. With proof of the Prophet's lies, those warriors may turn. The Covenant can destroy itself from within if we act wisely. Lash reviewed the mission logs in real time, his analytical mind struggling to process everything. The bald human, Saitama, destroying capital ships with his bare hands. The Prophet of Truth's attempt to activate Installation 05. The Covenant civil war beginning in the shadow of a halo ring. It read like science fiction. But the tactical data, the sensor logs, the recordings, it was all verified. How do we know the Prophet won't just order his fleets to attack once he's released? Lash demanded. Saitama held up the index, the sacred icon itself. Because I'm keeping this, no index, no activation. And I made it really clear that if he tries anything, I'll stop it. He believes me. On cue, Truth's image appeared. The Prophet restrained aboard in amber clad, his expression mixing hatred and grudging acceptance. The demon speaks, truth. I recognize when further resistance is futile. A temporary cessation of hostilities serves the Covenant's interests while we reconsider our strategic position. The words were diplomatic, but Lash heard the defeat beneath them. The Prophet of Truth, architect of humanity's near extinction, had been broken not by fleet action or Mac rounds, but by a single human who refused to die and refused to let genocide proceed. Commander Keyes, Lash said slowly, Fleetcom is not going to believe this. I know, but we're sending delegations from 17 Covenant ships to a neutral meeting ground. Guilty Spark, the installation's monitor, has agreed to facilitate. We're calling it the first step toward a comprehensive ceasefire. First step toward what exactly? Miranda's expression hardened. Ending the war. The real war. Not just fighting the Covenant, but fighting the lies that started it. If we can expose the Prophet's deception across their entire empire, the Covenant will tear itself apart. No more glassing runs. No more human colonies destroyed. Just ending it. Lash wanted to object. Wanted to say it was impossible, that 30 years of hatred and genocide couldn't be resolved with diplomacy and a captured artifact. But he looked at the tactical display, at Covenant ships broadcasting friendship codes, at warriors who'd spent lifetimes killing humans now requesting negotiation, and couldn't deny what his sensors showed. I'll contact Fleetcom, he said. But Commander, if this goes sideways, if those Covenant ships turn hostile, then Saitama will handle it, Miranda replied with a confidence that seemed insane. He's handled everything else so far. The neutral ground chosen was a Forerunner observatory perched on Delta Halo's rim, a structure designed for astronomical study that had stood unused for 100,000 years. The delegations arrived separately, UNSC Marines and officers from the Forward Unto Dawn and in amber clad, Sangheili shipmasters and honor guards from the defector fleet. Even a few Ungoy and Kigyar representatives who'd sworn to serve warriors rather than prophets. Saitama sat on a Forerunner control terminal, legs dangling, watching the various groups eye each other with suspicion and hostility. Decades of warfare didn't evaporate with a ceasefire announcement. 343 Guilty Spark hovered above, providing running commentary. Fascinating. The last time species gathered peacefully in this observatory was 96,000 years ago, during the early Forerunner study of Installation 05's exotic matter substrate. Of course, everyone involved was subsequently vaporized by the array's activation, but the principle of cooperation remains. Not helping, Spark, Johnson muttered. Thel Vadam stood at the center, flanked by Orna Fulsami and other shipmasters who'd been among the first to question. Across from them, Miranda Keyes represented the UNSC alongside Commander Lash and a holographic link to Fleet Admiral Harper. The meeting began with formalities, introductions, acknowledgments of ancient enmities, careful diplomatic language that skirted around 30 years of atrocities on both sides. Then Thel spoke plainly. We have all been tools of the prophet's lies. Humans because you possessed knowledge the hierarchs wished buried. Covenant because we were weapons aimed at evidence of our faith's falsehood. The war was constructed, manufactured to serve San Shayum political dominance. You expect us to just forgive the glassing of Reach? An UNSC captain challenged. The billions dead? The colonies reduced to radioactive ash? No, Thel replied. Forgiveness may never come. But I offer understanding and alliance against common enemies. The Prophet of Truth's zealots still command hundreds of ships. The flood spreads through high charity unchecked. The halo array remains a threat while any prophet draws breath. Our peoples can kill each other after these existential dangers are resolved, or we can choose differently. Orna stepped forward. I burned human worlds. I killed thousands personally. These sins are mine, and I do not ask absolution, but I will not commit genocide in the prophets' names. The great journey was poison. I will not drink further. The UNSC representatives processed this. Harper's hologram flickered as he consulted with distant advisors. Finally, Miranda spoke. We're not asking for friendship. We're asking for a temporary alliance of necessity. The Covenant civil war is beginning whether we participate or not. We can either support the factions that seek truth, or we can let the zealots consolidate power and continue the genocide. The choice is pragmatic, not emotional. The choice, Lash added, is also insane. We're trusting warriors who've killed our people. You're trusting mathematics, Saitama interjected. Everyone turned to look at him, the odd element, the impossible variable who'd somehow catalyzed this entire situation. If you fight every Covenant ship, more humans die. If some Covenant ships fight each other, fewer humans die. Seems pretty simple. You make warfare sound like arithmetic, a Marine colonel said. It kind of is, though. You're just making it complicated with emotions and revenge and stuff. Saitama hopped off the terminal. Look, I get it. You all hate each other. You've got good reasons. But that prophet guy is still out there and he really wants to activate those rings. So either work together now and hate each other later, or keep fighting and let everyone die. Your call. The blunt assessment hung in the air. Harper's hologram stabilized. Preliminary analysis from Fleetcom's strategic division suggests the defector fleet represents approximately 12% of total Covenant strength. If we can encourage more defections, propagate the evidence about the Halo Array's true purpose, we could see cascading collapse of Covenant unity. And if we can't, Lash pressed, then we're in the same position we've always been, fighting for survival against overwhelming odds. Except now we have allies and information we didn't have before. Thel's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. Then we are agreed. Temporary cessation of hostilities. Information exchange regarding the Halo Array and Forerunner artifacts. Coordinated opposition to Truth's zealots and the flood threat. With verification protocols, Miranda added. Mutual transparency. Any vessel that breaks ceasefire gets targeted by both sides. Acceptable. The word hung there. Simple, profound, impossible. After 30 years of extinction-level warfare, after billions dead and countless worlds destroyed, two species agreeing to stop killing each other. It wouldn't last. Everyone in that observatory knew it. Decades of hatred didn't evaporate with one meeting. But it was a start, fragile and temporary but real. Harper authorized the accord. Thel sealed it, with traditional Sangheli oath-binding. The various representatives exchanged carefully neutral acknowledgments. And in the corner, largely ignored by the historic diplomatic proceedings, Saitama yawned. "So are we done?" he asked. "Because I'm pretty hungry and I was told there might be actual food back on the ship." Johnson laughed, a sound that broke the tension like shattering glass. "Kids got priorities. Come on, hero, let's get you that salmon you keep asking about." As the delegations departed, Guilty Spark hovered beside Saitama. "You know, you fundamentally altered this galaxy's political trajectory. The ramifications will echo for centuries, possibly millennia. Don't you find that exciting?" "I mostly find it tiring," Saitama admitted. "I just wanted to help people. Now I'm in the middle of space politics." "Such is the burden of power," the Monitor philosophized. "The Forerunners learned this during their reign. Strength brings responsibility whether desired or not." "Yeah, I know. That's why I'm a hero." Saitama looked out at Delta Halo's curve, at the stars beyond, at the vast unfamiliar galaxy he'd somehow become tangled in. "Still want to go home, though? Any progress on that?" Well, I've been analyzing the dimensional rupture that brought you here. Fascinating energy signature. With sufficient study of Forerunner slipspace technology and several decades of research. Decades. Give or take a century. These things take time." Saitama sighed. He'd fought in another universe before, had dealt with dimension-hopping villains, had learned that sometimes you ended up in weird places doing weird things. But he'd always gotten home eventually. This time felt different, more permanent, like the universe was telling him, "You're needed here." "Well," he said to no one in particular, "at least the fights are in space now. That's kind of cool." Behind him, two species that had tried to destroy each other negotiated survival. Ahead, a war still raged. Truth's zealots wouldn't surrender easily. The flood remained a nightmare threat, and the Halo array still loomed over everything like a sword of Damocles. But for the first time in 30 years, humanity had hope beyond desperate survival. And all because a bald hero who just wanted groceries had punched the right ships at the right time. The war didn't end that day. Wars never do. They peter out slowly through exhaustion and compromise and the gradual recognition that continued fighting serves no one. But it changed. Across the Covenant, warriors questioned. Shipmasters demanded evidence. The prophet of truth's lies, exposed by an impossibility in a yellow cape, spread like infection through the Empire's hierarchies. Some remained zealous, clinging to faith. Others turned, seeking truth. Humanity adapted. UNSC forces learned to distinguish between hostile Covenant and defectors, learned to fight alongside former enemies against common threats. The flood was contained, then eliminated from Delta Halo through combined species effort. The Ark remained secured, the Halo array unactivated. Saitama stayed in this strange galaxy, helping where needed, punching what required punching, slowly accepting that home might be wherever people needed protecting. He never found a worthy opponent. The universe remained disappointingly fragile against his strength, but he found purpose. And sometimes, late at night on In Amber-Clad's observation deck, he'd look at alien stars and think, maybe being a hero wasn't about finding challenges. Maybe it was about preventing them. The mission continued. It always would.